You know what Sony had? The Holy Trinity. Leo, Brad, and Marco. Who do you have?
White Smoke, it's Boy Party, and this week Shane and I are discussing Anthony Hopkins and Jonathan Pryce in The Two Popes. The papacy, the chair of St. Peter, the bishopric of Rome, I'm going to renounce all of them.
You wouldn't be the podcaster anymore. Podcasters can't resign.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of Boy Party, a podcast about movies where two popes share the screen and pope it out. We're talking twopes this week. It's the two popes. Pope Francis is dead, and as a result, we're doing a Pope episode.
Woo!
We are huge fans of Pope media, and yet
It's not always good.
we don't like the two popes, and we don't like Conclave, and I haven't seen Habemus Papam, and there's a lot of other Pope stuff I haven't seen. So really, when we say we're fans of Pope media, we're talking exclusively about Pope media made by Paolo Sorrentino and Ron Howard.
Yes.
Welcome to our Two Popes episode. Boy Party is a podcast about movies where two major stars share the screen and battle it out for top billing, Oscar nominations, and much more. We're talking about a movie today with two legends of British stage and screen acting, who were both Academy Award nominated for their performances as Pope Benedict and Pope Francis, respectively. It's a movie about two popes. Mm-hmm. How many other things about two popes were released in the autumn-winter of 2019-2020? Well, two, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Yes.
Because The Two Popes was released in December 2019, and in January 2020, The New Pope was released on HBO, starring Jude Law and John Malkovich, which is, of course, the second season of The Young Pope. A far more compelling depiction of papal politics and of papal drama than this film, or indeed the film Conclave. But this isn't a podcast about The New Pope. I would recommend you go watch The New Pope. It rules. It's got a Sophie Tucker song as the theme music. John Malkovich starts a Catholic version of ISIS, basically, and it's about like a Catholic radical war breaking out. It's a fantastic series. We're talking about the comparatively dull and boring The Two Popes. But this is the only real cinematic depiction of the life of Pope Francis, of any note. And he is, of course, the person who is dead and has been funeralized and is being replaced as we speak. And I don't know exactly the date this episode is going to be released, so you might have a new pope by now, but I'd be very surprised. I would imagine that by the time this episode comes out, we will be hopefully in the early to mid stages of the conclave process.
When does the conclave drop?
I don't know.
Is it like 2 weeks post death?
Yeah, roughly, right? The last time there was a death followed by a conclave was 20 years ago.
2005,
when we would have been, 6, 7 years old. I don't remember the specifics. I do remember Pope John Paul II dying, and I remember the general kind of newsworthiness of it. I mean, I was in a Protestant primary school at the time, so in fact, I was probably exposed to less Pope John Paul II death drama than the majority of than you or most people we know, because I'm not from a Catholic family and I wasn't in a Catholic school. But
according to the usual norm, the papal conclave is held after a 15 to 20 day waiting period to allow for funeral ceremonies, travel for far-flung cardinals.
So it won't have happened yet when you're hearing this podcast. Okay, so we got that to look forward to. But this movie is released in December 2019 by Netflix. It has Netflix all over it. Just absolutely flat image, uncinematic, televisual, stagey rubbish. Even the poster absolutely sucks. I hate the poster. It is a really, really boring still of the two actors sitting on the lawn having a conversation in the lower third of the image, and then it's just got a bunch of text slapped on it. It's a real Netflix poster. This is not a movie poster. This is a thumbnail for a streaming service.
Absolutely, but I kind of like it a little bit.
I don't like it. You know what I don't like about it? It's gonna be really difficult to recreate it with you and me for the Instagram. So
it is.
We
just go out and sit in the garden on our chairs.
Take a picture of us sitting out in the garden. Anyway,
what was I going to say? Yes, it is very flat, but I think there probably is. I don't want to give it. Maybe I'm giving too much credit.
The movie or the poster?
The movie.
Okay, sure.
But I think it's deliberately shot to look like it's a documentary.
Yeah, not a fan of that style.
Not a fan of that.
So this film's directed by Fernando Meirelles, who's the Brazilian director of the beloved film City of God. I will admit I haven't seen City of God, but I know that it is always ranked very highly on film lists made by men in their 40s.
Okay.
On an IMDb or Empire magazine list.
Is it a Sight and Sound staple?
No. It will always make the Empire and IMDb lists, which has always given me the sense that it is not a necessary watch. But as a person who finds the nation of Brazil beautiful and fascinating, I probably should check it out, given that it's one of the more well-regarded Brazilian films internationally. But he also directed The Constant Gardener, for which Rachel Weisz won her Oscar in 2005. Like, all of his movies are pretty high profile. And he made a movie called 360 in 2011 with Anthony Hopkins and Jude Law. And then there's a big gap. And then his next film after that is The Two Popes. And the only things he's directed since The Two Popes, and you'll never see this one coming, 5 episodes of Apple TV series Sugar with Colin Farrell.
Oh, yeah.
And an episode of The Sympathizer, which was out at the exact same time as Sugar, and Park Chan-wook directed most of that, and he did one episode. I will say, as much as I don't like this film, the first couple episodes of Sugar were really well directed.
They've got a bit of flavor to them.
Pilot, we were huge fans of. And there's the infamous shot of Colin Farrell reaching down and picking up a cat.
With a fisheye lens.
Which just makes him look like the largest person on Earth. Yeah. Which is really cool. So Meirelles obviously does have a bit of visual style when he puts his mind to it, but this film is literally the least cinematic thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see if the trend continues that in years where popes die, he has an Oscar win from one of his films.
True, right?
Has he got anything coming out this year?
No.
Rachel Weisz, get on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. So the main problem with this film is that it is written by a man called Anthony McCartan. And now I will start this conversation by saying
of the show.
I have his number in my contacts on my phone. Okay. And I have spent time in this man's company.
We will be texting the link to this episode to him.
We will indeed. He is... I'm not going to say any personal comments about the man and his personality, which is not relevant. He is a conservative thinker of a certain kind, I believe, and it comes through in his screenplays. I'm going to list to you the films that this man is responsible for, because there's some real barn burning stuff in here. Clear my throat. Bohemian Rhapsody, The Theory of Everything, Darkest Hour, The Two Popes, Whitney Houston, I Wanna Dance with Somebody, and a film that has not been released called The Collaboration about Warhol and Basquiat, starring Paul Bettany and Jeremy Pope.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's fine. So,
Jeremy Pope.
Pope, yeah. And Melissa Barrera is in that as well. Sorry, she's not never mind. Yeah, she's the good actress who I like. Anyway. He is a guy from New Zealand who started off as a novelist, and then he directed 2 films in New Zealand, one of which stars Melanie Linsky, in the late 90s, early 2000s. And he then has basically gone on to become like one of the most reliable screenwriters and producers to get an Oscar nomination and to win the Best Actor Oscar. Yeah. He has written Eddie Redmayne, Gary Oldman, and Rami Malek's Oscar-winning performances.
And probably got a nomination for Cumberbatch.
What was Cumberbatch in?
Did you not say the Imitation Game?
No. Imitation Game is way too good to be an Anthony McCartan film.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking. I had that in my head.
No. The other one is the other one's The Two Popes, which Hopkins was nominated for. I think it goes without saying to anyone who listens to this podcast that Rami Malek, Eddie Redmayne, and Gary Oldman are the 3 worst Oscar wins in that category, with maybe the exception of Will Smith in the last 15 years. Like, Gary Oldman is not generally a terrible actor, fine, but that is a really appalling performance, which features my beloved, "You cannot wrestle with a tiger when your head is in its mouth."
Biases aside.
I can't really do the impressions of those other guys. Rami Malek, I do a Rami Malek. Famously, I can do a Rami Malek, but I can't do him as Freddie.
No.
And then Eddie Redmayne in The Theory of Everything.
Well, we're just not even going to
try that. I mean, those are 3 really, really bad films.
You're not Sam.
No, I'm not Sam. I am not Sam. I do think The Theory of Everything is a little bit less egregious than those other 2. I think Darkest Hour and Bohemian Rhapsody are utter fucking dog shit. They are harmful films. Bohemian Rhapsody is a insane, like, crazy hetero. What's even the word? That is a film that like
straight washed.
It's a straight washing of Freddie Mercury's life that is so soulless. And I don't even like Queen to begin with, but I feel bad for Freddie Mercury that his legacy is remembered in that awful film. Meanwhile, Darkest Hour is just a incredibly stuffy and conservative pro-Churchill film that refuses to deal with any of Churchill's flaws, despite him being a virulent racist and one of the worst leaders Britain has ever had in terms of, you know, racial hatred and anti-Irish, anti-Black, anti-Indian sentiment. I despise Winston Churchill, and that film thinks he's great. I would argue that The Two Popes has a similar relationship with the Catholic Church, where it refuses to really interrogate the Catholic Church's horror show beyond the surface level of, well, here's one cardinal who is a little bit more ethically concerned about the abuse stuff, and here's one who's willing to brush it under the carpet. This film is not really willing to criticize the structures of the Catholic Church that allowed abuse to happen and continues to allow a lot of bad things to happen, and just generally is an extremely conservative organization.
Yeah, and I think it's generally, I get the impression it's trying to present Benedict as like a reasonable guy. Look at him, he's resigning because a bad thing happened. Yeah. He's doing a sensible
Benedict
thing. He feels bad.
Is awful. Like, there's only one moment in this film where they show a news clip of a guy being vox popped in the street where he says, I hate that Nazi.
Don't let him be Pope.
Don't let him be Pope, where you're like, oh, finally someone has acknowledged this, because the film's not willing to acknowledge it. Anthony McCartan, when I was in his company, did at one point decide to quote Oliver Cromwell in a room full of Irish people, which did not go down well. I mean, the guy's from New Zealand. There's really no excuse.
And how did he
to be a massive British Tory?
How did he get into that phrase? Did he say, "My good friend Oliver Cromwell once said"?
He said, like, there's a great quote. I can't do New Zealand accent. There's a great quote about leadership from Oliver Cromwell. Is very similar to when a certain other actor quoted Conor McGregor, except this one, the context was already well recognized. So not a fan of his work, but I've no issues with him on, you know, a personal level. But he did write this film, and I think is entirely responsible for what an absolute snooze it is. This film is based on a play that he had written that only premiered like a couple months before the film. And my God, you can tell it's based on a play because it is so stationary. Most of this film is very long conversation scenes where, you know, Morales is not really trying to spice things up. There are scenes where the two characters are having a conversation in front of a white wall and they just sit there for 20 minutes and you're like, get them outside, get them in a fucking car. Like, you compared this film very correctly to The Journey, we discussed about 8 weeks ago on the show.
But The Journey has like ridiculous stylization.
Yeah, The Journey has like a fictitious thriller structure to it that makes it run a little bit more smoothly than this.
Yeah, and I also think the characters are kind of reduced to like a child's depiction.
Yes,
where they're kind of
The Journey is like so accessible that it's more tolerable than this.
But also their politics are very explicit and overt. True. And they're like, they're
very
just
black and white, yeah.
Very black and white.
But The Journey sets up this false premise of, you know, MI5 have basically tricked
the two of them
to be in a car together so they'll be friends. This film could desperately do with something similar, because instead it's just like, what if two guys had a chat and it went on for a couple of hours, and it's literally just like an afternoon in the life of these two popes in the days before Benedict's resignation, where he's kind of grooming Francis to be his successor, but also he can't say explicitly, you are going to be my successor. I mean, also, the film is aware of the fact these two men had wildly different doctrines, and Francis is a much more, you know, progressive thinking pope than Benedict, who's very conservative. And the film is like, you know, he's kind of grooming him to be a successor. He's also disagrees with him on a lot of things, but it never channels that into a particularly high energy cinematic narrative.
This is kind of a film that would like function the same if the motion smoothing was on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It may as well be shot with motion smoothing.
It should be, yeah.
Shot by César Charlon, a Uruguayan filmmaker who has also directed. Sorry, I have to quickly say, the DOP on this film is the director of a Uruguayan film called The Pope's Toilet. That's all. That's all. Carry on. We should have watched that instead.
We should have. Yeah, all right, fine. I get there was probably a pitch there of hyperrealism, but like...
Yeah. Like, it is the, like, as with all of Anthony McCartan's films, it is the epitome of Oscar bait.
Yeah.
This is a film that is made and bought by Netflix or financed by Netflix with the absolute intention of getting Oscar nominations for these two actors. And look, it's great that Jonathan Pryce got his first Oscar nomination because he's a great actor. He deserves to have several. But the film is so cynical in its attempt to give them each their little moment, while also, like, barely being able to make its running time full. It stuffs the film with Argentinian flashbacks in black and white, and it's just silly stuff.
That doesn't really
add anything, just to kind of get to 2 hours, because all it really wants is to give you these two actors, you know, having a few big speeches about faith and God, so that it can tick those Oscar boxes.
Like, I feel like Benedict was around during some pretty intense
There's so much
political conflicts. Yeah,
so much drama in the papacy that he had, and in what Francis has done since.
Yeah, but it's not really...
The film's not really interested. Crazy to think that when this film came out, Francis had been Pope for 6 years, and now it's 6 years since the film came out. This is the exact midway point of his papacy.
Yeah.
Crazy. 2019 just feels like yesterday. Yeah. Anyway.
The social network of its day. Social network of its day.
So the main interesting thing to talk about, given how boring the film is these guys, because Hopkins is obviously someone we've been circling around covering for a while. He is one of the greats, one of the living legends of the film world. He is an incredible actor who probably took me too long to realize how good he was, because he's so taken for granted, and he has such an aura of stuffiness about him, which isn't of his own doing, but he is, you know, Sir Anthony Hopkins. It's just kind of like, he just is like the default old great British actor, and that is boring. But he's not a boring actor. He's a really fun and animated screen presence into his later years. He's won his second Oscar, obviously, in the year after this, for his performance in The Father. And I would argue that's like the best work of his career. It's incredible. And he was 84 when he made that. 83, 84. I know you haven't seen The Father. It's great film.
He's not playing the Holy Father.
No, he's not. He's playing an old man with Alzheimer's, living in a care home, who basically has kind of is drifting in and out of reality and fantasy, and of memory and of absence of memory. And I haven't seen it since it came out, but I was really taken aback by it at the time.
He does a really, really good job of being a slow old man.
Absolutely.
Like, I've seen multiple things of him now where I'm like,
are you like this?
Are you actually in decline?
But he's very lively in real life.
Yeah.
But he also plays a slow old man, not necessarily in The Two Popes, but in a way that isn't boring, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this film is boring. But in other things, he is a slow old man in a way that's, like, incredibly electric. And
even in the film titled, is it Fastest Man?
What are you talking about?
What's the one where he's on the motorbike from, like, 2005?
With Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day.
Oh, the world's fastest Indian.
World's fastest Indian. Even in that, clips I've seen, he's like playing a slow guy who makes you repeat everything you've said.
Sure.
And kind of just laughs as if he doesn't hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, are you like
I haven't seen the world's fastest Indian.
I experienced it entirely through YouTube shorts.
Fantastic. Yeah. But he's giving the best work of his career in his 80s, which is so rare. And like, it says a lot that he's able to he's able to kind of like hook into his old man thing and make it something compelling. So The Father, anyway, he's basically it's based on a play, and it's about an old man whose memory is gone, and he's drifting in and out of what's real and what isn't. And the film uses, for example, the casting of the people around him in a really kind of scary, interesting, unique way, where people's faces will change and you'll forget who's who. And great cast: Olivia Colman and Olivia Williams and Mark Gatiss and a few others. But highly recommend The Father. Infamously, Steven Soderbergh is producing the Oscars that year, and he thinks that Chadwick Boseman's going to win Best Actor, because that was the consensus, was that he was going to win, because Chadwick Boseman, of course, sadly died of cancer earlier that cycle. He was very young, and he was in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Now, that is a film in which he is, I believe, a supporting character, but anyway, he was not meant for Best Lead Actor, and it seemed like a pretty no-brainer that he was going to be given Best Actor, and that there was going to be a beautiful moment of his family going up to accept the award posthumously. This is, of course, the Oscars that take place in a train station, socially distanced. It was a good Oscar show up until this point, because it was a cool, interesting setting. But anyway, Joaquin Phoenix comes out to present the Best Actor Oscar. What has Soderbergh done? He's put the Best Actor award at the very end of the show after Best Picture. So Chloe Zhao has gone up and won her Best Picture award for Nomadland. She swept the night. She won 4 Oscars that night. Oh no, but now Best Actor is last because we have to end on this triumphant moment for Chadwick Boseman's family. Joaquin comes out. Lucian, sitting in my house in Dublin.
Had a few dollary dues
I had €20 on Anthony Hopkins to win.
What'd you get him at? Like 7-1, 8-1?
5-1, I'm going to say.
Okay.
I think I had maybe €15 on him at 5-1. Something in that. I made something in the €100 range.
Yeah.
So Joaquin goes the winner. The Oscar goes to Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins
is not there.
There's a photo of him on screen. Joaquin, the awkwardest man in the world, goes, Mr. Hopkins isn't here tonight. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. The show also doesn't have a host. So there's no Jimmy Kimmel to come out and say, we're done, good night.
Yeah.
The show ends on Joaquin Phoenix on a stage on his own. No Chadwick Boseman
No
speech, no Anthony Hopkins, no Best Picture. That's the end of the Oscars. The worst ending to any Oscars ever, inclusive of the wrong film being read out a couple of years prior. And it overshadowed entirely the fact that Anthony Hopkins winning the Oscar for The Father was one of the most deserved Oscar wins in recent memory.
It's kind of like disrespectful to him.
It's awful.
It's very disrespectful to Chloe Zhao.
Very disrespectful to her that the Best Picture got put, for earlier in the running order. Disrespectful to the Best Actress winner that night, who I'm going to remember in about 2 seconds as being, Frances McDormand.
Yeah.
But it was just like, fuck this. And like, now no one remembers that Anthony Hopkins won for The Father because there was no speech and because it was this awkward moment and people just kind of remember the Chadwick Boseman element. And COVID obviously doesn't help.
Like, do you think
he would have been there if it wasn't for COVID?
Was he made aware of the running order change like 2 weeks in advance and was like, there's no point me going?
Hopkins? No, I don't think
he just didn't
Hopkins,
go on COVID grounds.
Hopkins didn't go because of COVID.
Yeah, okay.
He's old. I think that Soderbergh should have been told that he wasn't going to win. But the Oscars obviously have such lockdown on their winners that they were just like sitting there not making a face like, you do what you think is best, Stephen. You do what you think is best. Like, I genuinely think this is the only guaranteed evidence we've ever been given that nobody knows the Oscar winners in advance, except for the Pryce Waterhouse guys. Fair play to them. They keep it under locks. Other award shows do not do the same. But, it's terrible because The Father's really good. He's incredible in it. And I think that's like maybe the only Best Actor winner since Casey Affleck that I would have given the same person the Oscar. Well, sorry. Cillian Murphy, pretty good.
Oh, sure.
Anyway, but since then, he's given another great performance where he was in the movie Armageddon Time, where he plays this like Holocaust survivor grandfather in the 70s, who's basically the movie's about his grandson being a little shit. I'm delaying here because I'm trying to remember the name of the director, James Gray. And he basically. The grandson is a little shit. The movie's about the grandson being a little bastard in the 70s. And Anthony Hopkins is the grandfather who basically rocks up and is like, hey, you little shit. I survived the Holocaust. Listen to me now. You're going to be a good person and you're going to honor my legacy. And you're like, whoa, this guy is the fucking bastion of all integrity. Like, he just brings incredible amount of like history with him into that film where you're like, nobody else alive could do this. He's amazing.
So, there's another Holocaust film this year. The Diary of some.
Are you thinking of One Life? One Life came out last year. Sorry, he does a lot of stuff, but One Life I didn't see. But One Life's a movie that came out last year where he's a guy who like saved a bunch of children during the Holocaust, which is meant to be quite good.
That's what I'm thinking of.
But
or does he play Freud in something? No.
Yes, Freud's Last Session.
Yes,
in which one friend of the show got to play a priest opposite him in one scene.
Oh yeah,
But obviously his first Oscar win, it goes without saying, is for The Silence of the Lambs, which is quite a good film.
A film you couldn't remember a few weeks ago when we were doing the box office game.
I forgot. Well, that's because your clues were shit. That's your fault.
Great clues.
Silence of the Lambs absolutely rules. Jonathan Demme, of course, amazing film. Everyone loves Silence of the Lambs. Wins 5. The top 5 Oscars: picture, director, actor, actress, screenplay. He wins Best Lead Actor despite being in the film for less than 20 minutes, which is questionable, but Hannibal Lecter is present in every moment of that film. I think that there is a strong argument for him being a lead just based on like how much he consumes the...
Everyone's thinking and talking about him
all the time. And I think his Hannibal Lecter is definitely up there with, the Brando and the Godfather and... Heath Ledger's Joker and all those kind of like every normie's idea of an iconic performance, and as it should be. Prior to that, though, he's in David Lynch's The Elephant Man, as the villain. He's great in that. That's in 1980. He plays Hitler in something called The Bunker. I'm looking at a picture of him as Hitler right now.
Okay.
Very convincing. He looks the part.
Oh. What high praise.
He's kind of weirdly good at being a chameleon. Considering how distinctive his features are and how English he looks, he can slide into the role of a Polish or
I can picture his face very
German
easily.
or an American character very well. I mean, he plays a German in the Two Popes. He plays German, obviously, in that, or he plays maybe Polish in Armageddon Time. But like, he's very good at playing these kind of like European characters. But Hannibal Lecter, English, sure, he does his own accent in that. He's in Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. He's in some of the what are they called? Merchant Ivory movies, which are great. Remains of the Day is an incredible film in which he plays a butler in an English manner who is wallpaper to the people who live in that house. He drifts around. He's the silent butler. He's not interesting. He's a character that in any other film would be background.
Yep.
And he is the protagonist, and he is very quickly revealed to be a really complex and interesting man. And then he starts to witness elements of fascism creeping into the house, and he has to make a decision on whether he's going to do something about it. And it's him and Emma Thompson, and highly recommend Remains of the Day. I think he should have probably won another Oscar for that. He's fantastic.
So did he act when he was young, or did he kind of only come into it?
He's young enough in The Elephant Man. I mean, he's in his 30s, but he's comes from stage like all of these. We talked about Judi Dench recently. He's
not a Michael Caine, had a bit of comedy to him when he was younger.
No, I don't think so. I think he belongs in the Judi Dench ilk more. Yeah. He's in an adaptation of Kafka's The Trial with Kyle MacLachlan that I haven't seen that I must actually check out, adapted by Harold Pinter. That sounds kind of
I do want to, I will enjoy asking people what's the scariest villain Anthony Hopkins has played, and they'll be like, oh, Hannibal Lecter. I'm like, no, he played Hitler.
Well, yeah, but I thought you were going to say Pope Benedict.
Or Pope Benedict.
Another scary villain, Richard Nixon.
Richard Nixon.
I started watching Oliver Stone's Nixon in work today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the version of it that was available on my streaming service of choice was the 3.5 hour director's cut.
Oh, hell
I think the non-director's cut is 3 hours. I made about half an hour in. I will watch the rest of it. But today was not the day.
Hey, you might have watched the half an hour that was cut.
I mean, yeah, I got half an hour in and I was like, I just don't have it in me to get through the rest of this today. Yeah. He did play Richard Nixon though, believe it or not. He does, his bits and pieces of franchise silliness. So Mask of Zorro, he plays the villain opposite Antonio Banderas. Mission Impossible 2. I don't remember who the fuck he plays in Mission Impossible 2.
He's just there at the beginning and kind of does he give, I think he just like gives Tom Cruise his mission, I guess.
He slides into lazy. No, but he's the main villain, right? In Mission 2. He is.
No.
Yeah, he is.
No, it's fucking Scotsman. What's his name?
Oh, your man, Mr. Dougray.
Dougray
is the main villain. Interesting.
And Brendan Gleeson, kind of.
Brendan Gleeson, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Anthony Hopkins is just doing the Alec Baldwin /
really?
Tom Wilkinson thing in that.
All right. Someone will text us if we're wrong.
Someone will.
But he does take the checks when they come in the wake of Hannibal Lecter. I mean, largely for Hannibal Lecter sequels. He's in Hannibal and Red Dragon. Red Dragon's okay. It's him and Edward Norton. It's fine. But like he's in Beowulf, the Robert Zemeckis movie, which is awful. He plays...
Again, that's still a real director.
It's a real director. He plays Odin in the Thor franchise. He's in a bunch of Marvel movies as Odin. Have you never seen any Thors, I assume?
No.
Now, he obviously signs up for the first one largely because Kenneth Branagh directs it.
Yeah, sure.
And he has a...
Kenneth Branagh directed the first Thor.
He did indeed.
Jesus.
And it's not terrible.
I know.
One of Kenneth Branagh's better films, actually, which is funny. But he plays Odin, and he's in the 3 Thor movies.
It's not a bad base of an impression there.
Okay, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. Anthony Hopkins. I don't know. He's in Red 2, but not Red 1. He's in Noah, the Aronofsky movie. I'm just naming slop right now. I'm going to circle back to the good stuff. And then he's in a little film called Transformers: The Last Night. It's Edmund Burton. And they made him a really central part of the marketing for that film.
Yeah.
Because they were like, fuck you. We got Anthony Hopkins. Even he's in a Transformers movie. And it's like, well, Francis McDormand was in the last one. You had me sold on that. And he's like, Mark Wahlberg, you have the sword of the Transformers. It's silly nonsense, but like...
I have a lot of time for it.
He's quite good in that.
Yeah.
In terms of real movies that he's in, though, I do love Meet Joe Black. Meet Joe Black, a 3-hour Martin Brest movie that is basically what if Succession had the Grim Reaper in it, and none of the humor. It is about him as a wealthy Rupert Murdoch type being followed around by the Grim Reaper, played by Brad Pitt, who wants to sleep with his beautiful daughter. That is it. That's the movie. It's 3 hours long. It's really enjoyable.
I've only seen the first half an hour.
Yeah, sure.
I turn it off after the
Brad Pitt gets killed.
The incident.
It's so slow that you get like, it's like meditation. You're like, oh, I'm into this. It's like,
you feel like the Grim Reaper is there with you yourself.
Similar enough vibe to Curious Case of Benjamin Button. But
it's
I
just,
like it.
Yeah, you just kind of transiently fly along with it.
And Thomas Newman, boy, did he just absolutely fucking throw his entire body and soul at that score. It is so loud and booming and just like Thomas Newman going crazy on the keys, and it's a lot of fun. In other serious movie world, he does a movie called The Human Stain, which I briefly mentioned on the Nicole Kidman discussion recently.
Oh, you did?
He plays a black man in that. No blackface, just a man who is ethnically black. He's in Alexander. He loves his little period dramas. You know, he's in The Fastest Indian, as you said. He's in Bobby, All the King's Men. Fracture, which is pretty fun with him and Ryan Gosling. Prove I didn't kill my wife, or I killed my wife.
Fracture,
or something. It's good fun.
That's good fun.
He's very good in Woody Allen's You Will Meet a Tall Dark Stranger, which is like a fun, weird cast, but he's good in that. And
did he show up in any Shakespeare?
Oh, loads. I'm skipping the Shakespeare.
You're skipping the Shakespeare,
I don't care. Like, loads.
So I was like, where? Yeah, you're not
loads.
mentioning it there at all.
Julie Taymor's Titus, loads of stuff. He plays Hitchcock in the movie Hitchcock, which is kind of a boy party because Helen Mirren is very much the co-lead of that as the wife. I like that film more than most people. That film has a terrible reputation because it's very silly. I think Sasha Gervasi directed it. Very silly, like surface level depiction of Hitchcock. Like super, super like you don't need to have seen any Hitchcock films to have written that script even.
Yeah.
It makes Hitchcock also seem like a harmless goofball rather than maybe a complicated character who, while being an unbelievably great artist, also maybe pursued younger women in a slightly creepy way. No, he was a good guy.
I'm imagining that there is a scene in that where he goes up during Psycho and says, "Why don't you try a scream?"
Possibly, yeah. The whole film's about the making of Psycho.
Yeah.
So it basically starts with North by Northwest premiering, I guess, and then it's about the making of Psycho. You got Scarlett Johansson plays Janet Leigh, and Michael Stuhlbarg's in it, and there's it's fun. Sure. He looks like Hitchcock. The makeup is good.
I guess so.
In the last 10 years, I'd say there's a lot of red boxy stuff. He's going where he's doing movies that are filmed in his back garden and pay him $1 million.
He's not like flying to Budapest to do these things.
I don't think so. Maybe the odd time for the war or for the World War II, Holocaust dramas he does.
Yeah.
He played Freud in Freud's Last Session. He's in the follow-up to The Father. The same director makes a film called The Son, which is notoriously one of the worst films of the last 5 years. It's a Hugh Jackman and Vanessa Kirby movie about a self-harming teenager.
Okay.
I haven't watched it because it sounds really unpleasant. It is meant to be beyond appalling, and I think didn't even get real distribution and just completely. To be honest, if a serious drama comes out and Hugh Jackman is the lead, that's a major red flag. Like that means you couldn't get 6 or 7 other guys. And then recently he's been in this movie called Locked, where he locks a guy in his car.
Oh, Locked! Yes!
He locks Bill Skarsgård in his car. Not to be confused with the Tom Hardy movie Lock, also set entirely in a car. Crazy that there are movies set entirely in cars called Lock and Locked. That's so one funny. Letter of difference. But anyway, Bill Skarsgård breaks into a car and he gets locked inside, and Anthony Hopkins' voice comes over the intercom like, "I've locked you in my car. Escape, please."
Anthony Hopkins, as far as I'm aware, does not show up for more than like 5 minutes.
No,
of
but
screen
he's on the
time.
poster.
Yeah.
And then in terms of TV, he was in Westworld for 1 season, which was a big selling point of that first season. Was we got Anthony Hopkins, guys?
That is a good
which
tool.
is a good get. Ed Harris and Anthony Hopkins, and he is fine in Westworld, but they kill him off at the end of season 1, and I did not watch a single episode of that show after season 1. So there you go. There's your Anthony Hopkins rundown. Woo! Total box office gross. Any guesses?
3.8.
6.4.
Oh, sorry. He does some stuff.
No billion-dollar movies.
Not even the Transformers or...
No, they're not. None of those made $1 billion. But
sorry, I forgot the Thors.
You have 3 Thors and the Transformers.
Yeah.
So that's an easy $6 billion. Jonathan Pryce, I don't have his box office in front of me, but probably not bad because this man is in multiple Pirates of the Caribbean films as Mr. Swan. Do you have any idea what Mr. Swan's first name is? I don't know. But he's
John Swan.
John Swan. He plays Keira Knightley's dad.
Ooh.
He's very good in those films. First things I ever saw him in. He plays Keira Knightley's dad. A lot of his time in those films is just spent being like, Elizabeth, keep away from the pirates. They're bad people. He is like obviously on a lower tier of British actor than Anthony Hopkins. We will breeze through his career much faster, but his big iconic role, I guess, is that he is the star of Terry Gilliam's movie Brazil, which I subjected myself to see for the first time yesterday.
Very good.
Terry Gilliam, truly up there with Branagh as a contender for one of my least favorite living directors.
Oh, you're not a...
Oh my God. What a chore every Terry Gilliam film is. Oh, it's so zany and crazy. Whoa. He's endangering actors' lives. I found Sarah Polley specifically. I found Brazil to be my letterbox review of Brazil was the Monty Pythonification of Kafka, which is exactly what that film is.
Jesus Christ.
It is set in a dystopia where you have to work in an office and fill out forms all day, and everything's connected by tubes, and fun production design. But then the Monty Python humor kicks in, and everyone's talking in these silly English voices and has flippers, and you're like, I just can't possibly tolerate this.
And Robert De Niro's in this.
Robert De Niro plays
Harry Tuttle.
He plays like a tube repairman plumber character,
right,
straight out of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
And then just what I was thinking, this is like something out of the Super Mario Brothers movie. Bob Hoskins showed up, and I was like, this is just like the Super Mario Brothers movie. De Niro having fun in that film, but it is not helped by Jonathan Pryce's incredibly low energy, I will say. Not the guy you need in a film that really needs a charismatic star to anchor us. And that's not to say I don't like Jonathan Pryce, but I don't think he's quite the guy for that film. But he's in further Gilliam endeavors like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen and such. But he is in a film we discussed very recently, Glengarry Glen Ross, where he plays the guy that gets scammed by Pacino.
Oh, that's Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
Oh,
Pacino
okay.
is like... But what is it? He's buying his house or selling him a house? Pryce is sweating and is like, I just spoke to my wife. Give us back.
Yeah, I need my money back.
Yeah,
Pacino's like, it's all in the bank, but it's actually not in the bank.
No.
So.
Yep.
Anyway.
He's good at playing...
I didn't cop that was him at the time.
Yeah, he's good in that.
Very good.
He's good at playing various types of diplomats and dignitaries, namely in Evita. Mm-hmm. He plays the Argentinian president who Eva Perón is married to, Mr. Perón. And then right after that, he is a Bond villain. He's in Tomorrow Never Dies, which is a terrible film.
Is he ultra Argentinian in that?
I don't think he's Argentinian in that. He plays a character in that called Elliot Carver, who is a deranged media mogul staging a series of international incidents to pit the world's superpowers against each other. You know why? Because it will sell more newspapers. What a great motivation.
That's a pretty good plan.
It is a good plan. Tomorrow Never Dies is not very good. Michelle Yeoh's in it, directed by a man called Roger Spottiswoode. They don't make names like that anymore.
Sir, I will not spot your wood.
Spot your wood. Really, other than Pirates of the Caribbean, he's in Terrence Malick's The New World. And he plays Adam Sandler's dad in Bedtime Stories and Flashbacks.
Very good.
Which is a good role. Marty Bronson. And he's, Adam Sandler has basically ended up living in the hotel his whole life because his father was in the hotel. He plays the U.S. president in the G.I. Joe movies. And in the second one, he gets... I think his body gets possessed, or they do a face swap situation with the Cobra Commander or something. And then he ends up being like, there's two Jonathan Pryces. So there's the president and there's the bad guy Jonathan Pryce, and he's quite fun in that movie. He's having a good time. And he's in the Alex Ross Perry movie Listen Up Philip, which he's very good in. And like, there's directors like Alex Ross Perry who obviously think there's something interesting to be done by putting him in their independent films. And I hope there's more of that in the next couple of years, because he's definitely got a good something you can lock into there. He plays the husband and the wife. He is I'm not joking, he's the husband in the movie The Wife. And then he is in another Terry Gilliam movie, the long gestating The Man Who Killed Don Quixote, where he plays Don Quixote opposite Adam Driver. Probably my favorite Terry Gilliam movie, kind of perversely. I think it's more watchable than most. And then recently he actually reunited with Hopkins in One Life. He's about to be in the adaptation of Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club, which I'm sure will be insufferable with Helen Mirren and Pierce Brosnan. He's also on Slow Horses, and he's very good on it.
It's a good spot for him.
Yes, and he was in another show recently, which is briefly gone from my memory. What was the other TV show he was in recently? Where he showed up for like a couple of scenes and was very good. Well, actually, a couple. Game of Thrones, The Crown, where he played Prince Philip in the Imelda Staunton seasons.
That's funny.
And Three Body Problem.
Yeah.
Yes, Three Body Problem is what I was thinking of. Yeah, a lot of rubbish there.
Has he ever sniffed an Oscar nomination?
For the two popes.
Oh, he did.
Nominated for the first time for Best Supporting Actor, and Hopkins is nominated for Best Lead Actor. So I would argue that the only reason that was the category selection they went with is because Hopkins is more famous and a previous winner.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Definitely Jonathan Pryce has more dialogue in this film.
Yeah.
The film is told much more so from Francis's perspective because he's the person who kind of like arrives at the Vatican.
Yeah, and he's the one who kind of interrogates Benedict more so.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. There's two fun scenes in this. Three. I wish the movie had more of this stuff. There's the scene where Dancing Queen by ABBA plays over footage of the conclave. There's the scene where Benedict introduces Francis to his favorite TV show, Kommissar Rex, an Austrian program about a
German
Shepherd dog who solves crimes. Mm-hmm. And then, you know what? I'm not going to praise it, but the stupid scene at the end where they watch Argentina-Germany World Cup final together and eat pizza and drink beer.
Yeah, it's a scene from Fran the Man.
Yeah, it's a scene from Fran the Man. It's trying way too hard, and I don't like it very much.
That's fine with it.
So, the Letterboxd Top 4 game. I found someone on Letterboxd called Helena Bernardes, who is Brazilian, which maybe helps why she likes this film so much. It is directed by a Brazilian man, and this is her favorite film. So, our other three favorite films on Letterboxd. We've got... It's good. It's a good list.
We got a bit of a theme going on here? No?
I don't think so. Second film is a film I love. It is from 2021. It is a masterpiece, a 5-star film from 2021. But it wasn't released in Ireland until 2022.
Okay.
It was ranked very highly for me that year. Big fan of it.
2022.
It is not in the English language.
Is this Worst Person in the World?
Worst Person in the World.
Worst Person in the World.
Next up, we have a film from 2006. This is a multi-Oscar nominated film. A young actor, very young person, was nominated for an Oscar for...
A child.
A child was nominated for this. 2006. The poster is yellow. Very yellow poster.
Little Miss Sunshine.
Little Miss Sunshine. Those were very good clues. And then 2023.
Sorry, the child was...
Abigail Breslin.
She was nominated.
She was indeed. We talked about it on our... She was nominated against Kate Blanchett in Notes on a Scandal.
But it was for support.
Yes, correct.
Yes, sorry, that was my question.
And then we have a film from 2023, which you and I both really liked.
2023.
Also not in the English language. Really good film.
From 23 and not in English.
Yeah. Made by a great European director, but not made in Europe, and is not in English. And
I think I know what this is.
It's like the least boring movie ever about a boring person.
He's not doing it in his own language. He went to a different country.
European director went to a different country and made it in a different language.
Yes, I know what this.
This film was nominated for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars.
I know. I'm trying to.
It's about a guy, an older gentleman at work.
Perfect Days by Wim
Wenders. Those are her 4 favorite films. Thank you, Helena, for giving us that game.
Yeah, good for her.
Good for her.
Good taste.
And we're not going to do box office because this movie was released direct to Netflix. No box office whatsoever.
No, to be fair, it's probably good that we didn't go and see this in cinema.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did?
Oh, I did. It was on in the Lighthouse. Limited run in the Lighthouse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I went to see this on a Sunday afternoon when I just recovered from the flu, and I slept through it.
You would have rather gone to Mass.
And you know what I did afterwards? I went to the McGowan's pub quiz. Good times. December 2019.
Jesus.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Boy Party. We hope that a new pope who is elected does not hate gay people and women. Chances are that he will. The Catholic Church is a deeply fucking disgraceful organization that I am proudly not a part of because I wasn't baptized. Take that, Pope. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Shane, and we'll be back next week. You can visit Boy Party Pod for more episodes and follow Boy Party Pod on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, and more.
Light the smoke.
Light the smoke. Goodbye.